Okay. Hello, everyone. How you doing today? This is Cassandra Williamson coming to you from Mahler, Eastern Kentucky, and this is the Path Forward. So I'm not quite sure how long I'm going to be able to stay on this show. I've got my other sisters in. I'm the oldest of five, three sisters and two brothers. So just drifting in slowly, and we're going to go in shifts to our cousin's wake, which is this evening, which already started. It started at 6. So they're going to go up there so that I can stay here and be with mom, and then they're going to come back so I can go and they'll stay here with mom. And that's where we are at this point. Really, I was just negotiating or talking with my other sister from Pikeville, Kentucky. So there's been a lot going on today, folks. It really makes it difficult and challenging to be able to get through a day and keep a smile, at least something close to a smile on your face. I know how difficult all these things are. Erin in the morning, from with Erin Reed this morning, published her stack was a Substack report, and in it she talks about this reporter who had discovered what was going on with some of these representatives in the House of Representatives in the U.S. House, who had put in a request that the FBI designate transgender activism as terrorism. And then the Heritage Foundation just sent out a letter to that same effect. I mean, it was immediate. Just as soon as Ronnie Jackson and Nancy Mace pulled all this stuff together and started requesting these things of the FBI, then it just snowballed. Heritage jumped onto it with their oversight project. I mean, they just jumped flat right into it. And what's going on, folks? Why do you think that 0.17% of all mass shootings or all violent crimes in the United States, do you think that justifies declaring that trans people need to be stripped of all ability to communicate with people, to get them away from everyone, to isolate them? That's what Ronnie Jackson called for. He called for that. That's what he said. And I hope you can hear me. Somebody's put a little message over there in the chat box. You can find your chat box down there. Let me know if you can hear me or not, because I had trouble with my little other microphone I had, my collar microphone I had on earlier today. So now I got this big thing. It says it's a blue snowball, but it's not quite blue. It says blue on the front. Come on. It's like that. I've told people this. I did look. My storyboard looks like this. It just goes everywhere. Okay, it's very extemporaneous. It's all over the page, but it does come back to the plot line eventually. But it makes it entertaining. I hope that this can be somewhat enlightening, at the same time entertaining for people, because I do go all over the place. I do tell personal stories and things like that. It is an absolute honor, and I'm just humbled to be a caregiver for my family here in Eastern Kentucky. I volunteered to come back here, and then they agreed for me to come back. Yeah, we were barely on speaking terms prior to that. But that's fine. I don't mind that. And obviously, I knew what I was getting into when I came back here, because if you could see in my sister's room, who is disabled, my disabled sister, you would see she got her Trump hat and her Jesse Waters cushions and pillows, and she's really just enamored with Jesse Waters. And I've watched a lot of Jesse Waters in the year and a half, almost 2 years that I've been here now. A lot of Jesse Waters, a lot of The Five, a lot of, oh my God, a lot of Fox News, and also Scooby-Doo. There's been Scooby-Doo on every TV in the house, just about, except the one back here. She can't reach it. It's up there. But when she drives by on her wheelchair, and if there's no one there watching that TV, she'll grab the remote and go, click, find Scooby-Doo. But earlier today, she was watching TV. She's watching a Stanley guy as a preacher from down in Atlanta, I think. Anyway, so she's massive Trump supporter, really, and that's fine. Yeah, I don't mind those things, and It's easy to deal with these things back here, folks, because people just let others live as they wish to live. They don't consider themselves busybodies and trying to get into everybody else's lives. It's none of their business. It's none of my business who they vote for. I know who they vote for. They know who I voted for. We've had really interesting little things. My brother will be sitting on the couch, and my sister will come in a wheelchair, and she'll have her Trump hat on, and Trump will be on the TV talking or something like that, or Jesse Waters, and my brother will look at me and then look at her, and he'll go point to her and say, and she'll look at me and go, yeah. So we have interesting conversations around here. I am not offended by other people's beliefs by any stretch of the imagination, folks. Never. Why would I be? I will not call for their death. I will not be involved in things that push people to act on those beliefs. I will not do that. I don't do that. I've found over the years, folks, that the best way, the absolute best way, I'm going to pick up my little microphone over here and carry it around with me, I think. So I've got my blue ball, my snowball. It says blue. It's white. But anyway, so that's another story altogether. I've got, let me go down that rabbit hole for a minute. So I was talking to my mom's doctor the other day, and his name was Dr. Goodo, Goodo. I said, so doctor, where are you from? And he said, I am from Ghana. And I go, oh, really? Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So that's amazing. I said, my ancestry DNA came back and it says, I've got 1% of my genetics is from Ghana. And I went over to him and held my arm up there beside his. And I said, well, where is it? I don't see it. And he's laughing and I'm laughing. And I said, well, they say it's in there somewhere. I got 1%. So I guess we're just distant cousins, huh? So I have a lot of fun. You've got to, folks. You can't let all this stuff beat you down. This has been a bad day with what's going on with Project Oversight, the Oversight Project from the Heritage Foundation and from Ronny Jackson and from Nancy Mace. You know, Nancy Mace is like a weather vane that kind of just blows in the wind. There was a time when she supported trans people. But just as soon as it became politically convenient to do so, she immediately turned on them and said, no, you're not my friend. I don't know any of you, and you are a bunch of evil people. We want to lock you up and get you out of society because, you know, that gets me votes. She didn't have the last part. But that's why she's doing it. Ronny Jackson, on the other hand, y'all know who Ronny Jackson is. He was the former, White House doctor. Surgeon. I don't know if he's a surgeon, a doctor. He had achieved the rank of admiral in the Navy. So he was the White House doctor for Trump, I believe. And so, but he stayed drunk so much on the job, and there were so many other problems with his prescriptions and the way he dealt with staff at the hospital, there at the White House and stuff like that he got demoted to captain. This next administration, Trump administration, comes in and just recently reinstated that 1 star in the admiral's rank, which is really, you know, it's like 07, 8, somewhere right in there. It's at one of those two, I forget exactly. But anyway, captain's 06. So, yeah. So he got his first lower half star in the admiral category. All right. But I think they made a huge mistake. So in the newsletter I sent out today, the little thing about, you know, another day in the life of a transgender terrorist from Appalachia in Hatfield, McCoy, Pew Country. If you didn't get this, you go on the website and just look it up. It's in the blog section. You go get it and read it. It's there. But go check it out. But I call him Seaman Apprentice Ronny Jackson. And for someone who was an admiral to be called a Seaman Apprentice, well, you can take it two ways. One, Seaman apprentices carry the weight of it. Seaman apprentices from E1 to E3 to E4 and 5. Those lower enlisted ranks, they carry the bulk of the work in the entire military. So it can either be construed as being a horrible insult or a good thing. So It was intended to be as an insult because he needs to he needs to take his little Admiral star and unpin that thing and send it back to Cracker Jacks. He should know better. The stuff that he called for was, he said this, that he wanted to gather all the transgender people up in the country, get them away from everyone else in the country, isolate them, take away their ability to communicate with anyone, and get them the help that they need. And obviously that means that the help that he thinks that they need according to his own standards is just as long as he can maintain his vote base within Texas. He's a representative from Texas now. Admiral Captain Seaman Ronnie Jackson. So when that came out from those two yesterday, or around that time period, the Heritage Foundation with Kevin Roberts, Dr. Roberts and his bunch over there, the ones that are doing the It's Your Gov Twitter feed now, the X feed is called Oversight Project. That's all Heritage Foundation. You go in there and check it out, and they came out and said, so we can't afford to wait. I'm looking at it right here on this side of my screen. Okay. We can't afford to wait. So we did the work for them, talking about creating the policies and stuff that would roll back care for transgender people, not just care, but the rights, human rights, respect for people with different views, different expressions, different ways of living their lives, simply because they've been villainized by people on the right. Oh my God, come on. Don't they? I mean, this is the funniest part. Okay, so you have Elon Musk out here, and he's seconding and going, yes, amen to all these different people who are saying we need to get trans people rounded up and get them the care that we think they actually need, and not what those affirming people say they need, the people with experience. We know more, but really no, they don't. It just is mind-blowing that they think they know more about my care than I know about me, because I've been studying me for a long time, folks. A long time. It's just, I don't know how else to react to it. Come on. It's so ludicrous. But they're the ones in power. They're the ones who have the House, have the Senate, have the White House. They're the ones using blitzkrieg tactics to go sweep across the whole of the government, the federal government, and sweep across academia, and sweep across anything and any business or any organization that gets in their way. They're going to sweep across them and say, if you don't do it our way, we're jerking away the funding, or we'll strip away your ability to be licensed. Because we know that it's only binary, male and female in there. There's nothing else. I mean, really, folks? That reminds me of, the Dalton model of the atom back in 1803, when Dalton put that together, and he said that the atom is like a billiard ball and it can't be reduced any further. We're stuck with that. Well, that's where people's mentality are on this. Their thinking is on sex and gender. And for the longest time, they were conflated to be the same. Everybody understood them to be the same. There was no ambiguity there. They actually said, yeah, sex and gender are the same. But, we learned that the atom actually is made up of electrons, protons, neutrons. And then we did the same with sex and gender. We figured out that, wait, look a minute here. There's some nuances in here. But the people over on the right telling everyone that the trans people are the one who are ill and causing all the violence and the extreme violence that's taking place around the country right now, they're the ones stuck in 1803 with the Dalton model. So I just call them Daltonists. They're all Daltonists. Yep, they still got their head stuck on that billiard ball. They can't figure it out. And most of them are blue. No, I'm not going to. Don't quote me on that one. Oh, my God. These people are just ridiculous. We've learned a lot since then. Folks. We know better. We even know now. I mean, if you don't know this, but, we even know now that even the neutron and proton aren't elemental. They're made up of quarks, up and down and all those kind of quarks. Yeah, really. And they're held together by gluons. Oh. I don't get it. Let me do something else. Let me just tell you something about one of our founding fathers. You ready? July the 12th, 1816, our dear friend Thomas Jefferson, that the right has such a love fest for, an agrarian, someone who owned slaves but knew it was wrong, didn't have the strength of character to say, hey, this is wrong, we got to stop it, because he was afraid of peer pressure. Yeah, he said that in his letters to his friends. Afraid of the peer pressure. And he was afraid that they would rise up and kill all the white people. Now, don't tell me about the lost cause crap, because even Jefferson recognized that these people weren't treated right. But he didn't have the strength of character to actually do anything about it. He actually said, we're going to put this off to a future generation to deal with. And in that letter in 1816, he told his friend Samuel Kercheval, he said, first thing is, don't tell anybody I think like this, because, they might think badly of me. Me paraphrasing the first couple of paragraphs. He said, don't do that. Don't tell them. Don't tell them this. But this is what he said. He said, I actually think that for someone to try to tell me, to force me to wear the coat of my youth, referring to how the original Constitution had been written and framed and what people knew then and how they perceived the world then, he considered it not to be mature. He said, it would be like forcing me to wear the coat of my youth. I know more now. And not only that, I know more science and math. He was big into actuary tables, all this kind of stuff. He wasn't a Daltonist. And he no doubt would have studied what Dalton said about the billiard ball atom. This man was a polymath. He was extremely smart. He and Alexander Hamilton, both of them, extremely smart men. But he would not have stayed with the billiard ball model. When new knowledge comes along, he would have adapted to it. He may have fought and struggled and fought it along the way, but he wasn't going to do it. He was going to do it. He would have done it. So we got people right now on the right going, transgender ideology expired, violent extremism. We've got to stop it, round up these people, take away their right to communicate, and make sure they don't talk to anyone. That's exactly what Heritage Foundation, through its oversight project, said. You can go check it out. Go look up. Let me just share a page here. Let's go over here. Heritage Foundation's oversight. You can go look it up. You can go find it somewhere. I don't want to go do all the looking for you because I like talking a lot. So anyway, this has been a really stressful day. Not really stressful. It's been like interesting day, busy day, because right now my cousin's wake has started. It started at 6. Family was there at 5. Some of her immediate family, and my brother and sister, they were going to go there the first hour or so, and then come back and then go check so that I could go, because I was hoping Mom would be able to go, but she can't. She really should, but she can't. And it'd be good for her to go. The family would really appreciate seeing her there. I know that, but she can't. So somebody has to be here. We can't just leave her alone. All of us walk out and just leave Mom and my other disabled sister here with them. It wasn't going to work that way. So I'll go in a little bit, just as soon as Gideon and Edmund get back. So we can talk a little while if you'd like. Yeah. What else you want to talk about? Oh, let me see. I've got to figure out a few things that I'd like to do this weekend for Mom. A lot of stuff that she really likes, some of the food things she likes. Her tastes have been changing dramatically. And she told, we were at the hospital the other day, last week. She had been in there a few days, and the nurses came in and said, hey, we're going to get you some food up here, but we want to warn you, it may not be as good as what you get at home. And Mom said, as straight face as possible, she looked at him and says, well, it's not that good at home. So that's probably good here. Then the nurse says, who did it? Who makes your food? And I go, me. And Mom laughed, and they laughed, and after they turned red, and then I laughed, and yeah. Her tastes have changed, though, a lot. So it's really hard to find something that she enjoys eating anymore. So some of the old things that she always liked, like pinto beans and cornbread. Here in the hills, that's a big thing, big deal. We call them soup beans here, but it's pinto beans that have been reduced to a lot of soup in them, and not just liquidy not really liquid, but a lot more soup. So you reduce it down to get it to the soupy content level, and then you can put your cornbread in it. You can do whatever you want with it, but it is a high protein meal, and she loves that. She loves that kind of thing. And another thing that she likes, and just about everybody in my family likes here anyway, we have this staple called it's a Boy Scout meal. Dad started it. Dad was a scoutmaster for 25 years back here, and we had scouts all around our home all the time. All the time, there were scouts around the home, and they'd be building things and building rope ladders and rope walkways and bridges and all kinds of stuff like that. Going on canoe trips. I mean, they were 3 weeks gone on a canoe trip. They left from Williamson, West Virginia, which is near here, about 5 or 7 miles away. Went from Williamson, West Virginia, all the way down the Tug River to the Big Sandy River, onto the Ohio River, down through the locks into the Mississippi River, went down the Mississippi River to the mouth of the Mississippi River, to the Delta area. And we had to drive down there and pick them up. They couldn't get back on their own. Paddling back up river is a little bit tougher to do. I don't know if you know that or not, but they did. And that's the kind of stuff I grew up around here in Kentucky. Okay. And the thing is, when I was here, it really felt really ugly and nasty and kind of, it was gruesome to me. I wanted out, wanted away from here. I couldn't be myself here. I knew who I was, just like you know who you are. And you knew it at an early age. Well, I did too. It just happened to be somewhat different than what I saw in the darn mirror. But you really couldn't express that. I didn't have the language for that here. I kind of hid it and ran from it for the longest time. And I was afraid. I was afraid how I didn't have the strength of my character at a young age of 5 either. How dare you try to force me back into the code of my youth? It will not happen. Notice how I did it. Anyway, so yeah. So it was really pretty. I mean, it's really pretty here now, but that's because for me, I can see it through clearer eyes. I can see it through a vitality and a prism of vision now that I didn't have then. It was blocked from me because it was just like everything was just in the way. You couldn't see the beauty for the smoke, it felt like, and the dust and the mud and the coal dust and all of this kind of stuff that was always around here. So if you're looking for a place to come now to go take a little vacation or whatever, you want to get away from it all. Well, this place, if you're into ATVs, you know, the all-terrain vehicles or utility terrain vehicles, UTVs or whatever they call them, utility vehicles, or you want to get out and just ride your four-wheeler all over the place. The big ones, there are some big ones here and some little ones here, but the big ones are like $40,000 or $50,000 vehicles. Take off into these mountains and just drive. There are cabins all over the place here. Trail system, the Hatfield-McCoy Feud trail system is here. It's everywhere. It's one of the biggest attractions in the area right now. And you can even stop by and visit the place where the boy and the girl got married, had a baby. The baby died early, and they fought over a pig and all that kind of stuff after the Civil War. I mean, this is a heritage site. This whole region is that kind of heritage. We grew up fighting each other. I mean, I can tell you stories about that too. Like, for instance, my third great-grandfather back was conscripted by the Union Army. And he did not like that. He deserted. Ran back to the hills of Wayne County, West Virginia, and hid. His wife, who happens to be my namesake, Cassie Williamson, hid him in caves to keep the Union military police people from finding him, the investigators from finding him. But he wanted to go back and join his father, my fourth great-grandfather, and his brothers who were fighting for the Confederacy. And people like to say, they like to tell me, you're a heritage American. I'm thinking, do you know what a heritage American is? It's all right, I really get on this kick about people like Joel Webon. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it's Webbon. He's a pastor. He's a preacher. And you can find him over on Twitter. He's got a following. He does really well with all this kind of stuff, apparently, but he wants to make America hate again. You know, he's right up there in the same line with Doug Wilson, who wants to strip away the 19th Amendment for the right for women to vote. This person, Joel, is that also. And it's also the same bunch that Pete Hegseth belongs to. The Doug Wilson, Pete Hegseth connection, the church part. that basically says no women should be allowed to be in position of authority anywhere. Well, Wilson says this, his church says this, Weebon says this. They all say, we don't want women in any leadership positions anywhere in the country. They only have one role. Marry a Christian man, period, and make babies. And along with that, you got to fix food too, and bring them an occasional drink or whatever. But those kind of things. And also, they don't want them to be able to vote. You ought to listen to these people, and they have a voice. That's where Pete Hegseth came from. Well, he actually joined the church in 2018. Moved his family to Tennessee to be a part of one of those churches. And you wonder why people are just so distraught over this stuff. What's going on in our country right now? I mean, come on, all I can think about is an occasional peach cobbler I need to make for Mom. I wrote that in that letter today. That was in that little letter I sent out. So what do we do with all this, folks? What's the path forward? For me, that's real simple for me. I have no objection with being out in the front of all of this, sticking my face in the front of anything that wants to come out there, standing in that gap for people I care about. My family here, the trans community, wherever you may be. And I'm going to make this very clear. If you're one of these people who are throwing rocks, if you're throwing rocks at ICE, if you're throwing feces at policemen, and you're a trans person, or you are associated with a trans person and you're doing that because you think that this is what the trans community needs right now, or you're associating with somebody who possibly is going to kill someone who should never have been killed, like Charlie Kirk, never have been killed. Absolutely repulsive beliefs, but in no way should he have been killed for them. In no way. No way. We ought to be at a place where we can bring in viewpoints that we don't necessarily agree with. We ought to be able to talk to people about things, folks. We shouldn't be so sensitive to every darn thing that gets tossed at us because, it's going to be turned against us. There are a lot, 1.5 million trans people in this country? All it takes is 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 bad actors in the trans community for them to become the poster child on the right. We've got to stop that. We've got to figure out a way to rein that in. Those things are causing more harm to us than anything out there. It does not matter what the stats are. It doesn't matter what the science says. None of that matters. They're in power. They control the right-wing media. They have the House, the Senate, and the White House. They can legislate against us, write policies against us every day of the week. And they will throw stuff against the wall until something sticks. It's incrementalism that drives them. Incrementalism. This stuff right over here from the Oversight Project and Seaman Apprentice Ronnie Jackson and weather vane Nancy Mace, political weather vane. Well, let's leave it at that part. Just call her weather vane Mace. She is the weather person. Okay, so I digress again. So I get a lot of stuff on Twitter, okay? And a lot of stuff that's over there. And I see that some people I've been communicating have connected with me over there, and I appreciate it. A lot of connections have been made. Most of the people connected to me are probably some kind of bot somewhere, but they just show up, populate, connect, and that's the extent of it. But I get all these questions and all these comments. One of them that really is intriguing to me is when people go, well, you're just a man. And I say, well, are we talking about sex or are we talking about gender? And they'll go, they're the same. And I'll say, look, no, you're a Daltonist. I've got to educate you on that part first. And I said, and by the way, I know that on a very superficial level, that's what I tell them, on a very superficial level, elementary school understanding of science and all this kind of thing, I know that there's XY genes right here in this person. You know how I know that? One, I did an ancestry DNA thing, but the other thing is I have a son. Where do you think he got his Y chromosomes from? And I've got three daughters. Where do you think they got that extra X chromosome from? It came from me. Okay? It came from me. So I've got no problem with that. As a matter of fact, my kids, when they first accepted me, it only took them just a few hours to come out and say, okay, this is who you are. What should we call you? I said, well, you can call me Dad. You can call me Papa. You can call me Cassandra. You can call me whatever. Now, don't call me Mom, though, or Grandma, because those two terms are reserved for my ex-wife. She is the one who earned those titles. So I am not my kid's mom, and I am not my grandkids' grandmother either. You can call me Cassandra. You can call me Papa. You can call me anything. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. And I can also tell you that I am not in the process of transitioning. I went through gender dysphoria. I came out the other side. I had all the proper procedures for me that satisfied my requirements for my life to be successful and happy. That makes me who I am now. And I'm good with that. I'm good with that. And so are my kids. Now, my mom, she sometimes sees me as Cassandra and sometimes sees me as her son and different things like that. But here's the thing with names and stuff like that. I'm not worried about that either. I'm not going to go around pounding somebody over the head whenever they use the wrong name or the wrong pronouns. Why would I? Why would you do that? That's not on you to fix for them. It's on them to fix for themselves. Period. You don't get a say in that. You might be able to say something, well, it makes me feel better, but my argument against the name for the name part of it is this. I'll go, so tell me about Vice President Vance, J.D. Vance. What do you think of him? Do you like him? And people around here go, absolutely. Love it. And I said, do you know that his birth name was not Vance? It was Bowman. And he legally changed it like I legally changed mine. Conversation changes pretty darn quick at that point. But they still don't do it. But it doesn't bother me about all of that stuff. I am glad to be in a place where I can help them. I am glad to be in a place where I can stand in the middle of the street and be myself when others can't. I know that one of the most targeted population of trans people in the world are trans people of color. More violence is committed against them than anything else. I have a responsibility to stand up here and go, put me on the top of your list there, Pam Bondi. Here's my name. Put it out there. Let's do something about this now. Come on, put my name right on the top of that trans terrorist list because, one, I'm not dangerous. You might think I am. It probably offends you. And there's people within your administration and then within your group there at Department of Justice and in the White House and across all walks of life, really. The biggest offense they have about me is that so many men fantasize about me. And I know that. They fantasize about women, period. Particularly about someone that they think they understand like me. They have all this. There's a big push right now going around to stop pornography. And look, let me just go back just a little bit, just 1 second. Heritage Foundation's project 2025 Mandate for Leadership. In the forward to that thing, like on page 3 and 4 or 4 and 5, right down there in the first little bit in the forward, it was written by Dr. Kevin Roberts, president of Heritage Foundation. That forward, if you look through that thing, you'll see everything that they want to accomplish and in the order that it is happening and different things along those lines. And you'll see they equate transgender people with pornography and that they all should be stopped, banned, and locked up. That was written, 2 years ago? Something like 3 years ago. They were telling you then where they wanted to go. And Trump was going, nope, I don't even know who those people are. I don't know anything about that. Nothing like that. He's accomplished at least 80% of that darn thing for them already, when Reagan was only able to get, 60% or something, maybe less than that. Reagan had a mandate for leadership too that came from Heritage Foundation. President Reagan. They've been doing this that long. They keep pushing and pushing and incrementalizing things and going in the direction they want to go. And we have just sit there and moved right along with it. Well, everybody, look. We are some of the most resilient people on the planet. We've been through hell and high water. And it's still flooding. It's still raining. We know how to swim. We know how to survive. We know what it takes to make it through to the other side, because this will end. This will end. These are cycles. These conservative resets, you can see them down through the course of modern American history. They push back against liberalism on the campuses of colleges in the 1930s during the Great Depression. There were people rebelling against recruiting efforts by the U.S. military on campus. Do you know who was mostly going to colleges back then in the 1930s? Well, you had to have some money. It had to be worth something. You had to be able to get in because everybody else was so broke they couldn't get in. So this was basically a whole bunch of white guys with wealthy families. And they were saying there were protests about this. And there were lots of anti-Semitism on the campuses in the 30s. Why do you think the United States refused to allow the Jewish refugees, even when they were on ships trying to get away from Nazi Germany, why the United States refused to allow them entry? Eventually, they did allow some in. This country has a history of anti-Semitism, and don't let the current administration try to convince you otherwise, that this is all new stuff. It's not. It's not. Been here before, done that. Shoe flips around all kinds of ways. Well, I hope I finished my storyboard there. It went all over the place. The first thing, though, I'll just get back to this one thing, is that we've got to start pushing back where you can. I can tell you flat out that marching feels good, accomplishes nothing. That protesting feels good, accomplishes nothing. For too long in our own community, we've had people who were doing things that, looking back in hindsight, has brought us to today. We need to have people who are able to push through, stand strong, keep the good fight up every day through it all, and then turn the tables on these people. If they're going to call you a certain bunch of names and all this kind of stuff, just lean into it and make a mockery out of it all, because that's what it is, folks. And it won't be safe. It won't be easy. But it must be done. So I'm asking Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and anyone else out there, and Ronnie Jackson, oh my God. I can't believe I can. I can't believe a fellow naval officer would be able to say the stuff that he has said about another group of Americans. But I started to say that, and then I realized, oh, wait a minute. We've got Commander Ron DeSantis, Governor Ron DeSantis, saying the stuff he says. And I'm like, come on, we obviously didn't serve the same America or something. I don't know what you serve for, but I serve for all Americans. I serve for every American. And there's no caveats to that. There's no catch to that. There's no footnote to that. That is, I serve for all Americans. What is so hard about that? What is so challenging about that? Why is that such a difficult concept to grasp? And this is what I say. If there are veterans who say they did not serve Americans or that much of Americans, you need to tell them to turn their DD-214 back in, because it's built on a foundation of sand. Really. It really is. It really is. I'm looking for something over here in my files. That one. So with this, I'm going to say close out. Have a great weekend. Be strong, stay safe, be good to yourselves, take care of your families, and I hope you have an enormously good time this weekend. Try to take care of yourselves. Come on. If you need somebody to talk to, you can send me an email if you want. Don't count on me responding to everything like that. I get a lot of crap, so I'm really cautious about things. If I don't know who you are, and I'm likely to, and if you call me, some people do have my phone number, but if you call me and I don't recognize your name or number, then you're likely to get this response from me. Let me show you. This is what happens when people call me and I don't recognize the number. This is what I do. Hello, can I help you? This happens to be Sarah with Joe's Pool Hall. Joe died last year, but if you'd like to have a conversation with me, I can do a little seance for you. Click. If I don't know who you are, we're going to have some fun on the phone, folks. Take care of yourself. Have a good weekend. Come back on Monday.